go with the flow, so that I don't kind of disorganize or something like that. Okay. Anyway, so what we are going to talk about: how did that happen? How might it affect your life and career? And be aware of the opportunities in the metaverse. So this is basically what I want to talk about, right? Well, everybody must have heard about the term, how it comes about, because there are so many webinars available nowadays. Okay, so I guess you must have heard about that. The name started off with a novel written by Neil Stephenson. All right, so the term the metaverse come along, and then there are people who play Roblox, which is a very popular game. All my kids play that, so they know much better than me. And then this got listed in the US, and then they claim to be a metaverse company, and then the value skyrocket. And then there was the Facebook, which they changed the name to Meta. So everybody has been crazy about that. I think it was last year or something like that, right? And then Sandbox, my friends start asking me, have you bought any land lately? I said, what? Buying lands? Yeah, in the metaverse, which is called a Sandbox. So all that sort of things happen, and then people has been talking about it. And before that, they were talking about NFTs. All right. So I thought it's just another new name. And at the same time, there are some books they talk about the vision of metaverse. What catches me was that they said the metaverse is likely to be bigger than the physical size of the economy. The size of the economy, it will be bigger in the metaverse than in the physical world in 10 years' time. Though that catches me, my attention. I thought, well, you're kidding. We how many years we have spent to build up the current size of the economy, and then they said it will be bigger. The metaverse will be bigger. Okay, and they're giving us the timeline about 10 years. Okay, a lot of research talks about that. It's going to be $1 trillion or something like that. They project it to be very big. So I thought it might be worth looking at it, because although in the beginning it's probably pretty small, but after a while, after the infrastructure and things become ready, it's going to be very, very big. So why don't we start learning about it? So that's the concept of getting into that. So what is the metaverse? Now, there are so many different definitions. That's why people are talking about different things. All right. There are a couple of popular sayings. First one is about gaming. Okay, so we have Roblox. We have different Sony games. We have lots of games around, right? And each of them will have a group of people who has been using all these, playing all these games for a long time. My kids are all this game player, and that's the metaverse according to them. Okay, but some people say no, because this is gaming. In gaming, which means that you enjoy playing games, which gaming has been around for a long time. Okay, when I was small, I was young, I play games. Yeah. So if gaming is the metaverse, that's nothing new. All right, but some say no. Why? Because they says that you can stay in the gaming world, all right, but when you come out to the real life, there's no connection. There's no connection, right? You in the past, right? In the past, say a few years ago, you can't really, use the money you earn in the game. You can't really take it out to the physical world to spend it. All right. So without that connection, you can't say this is a metaverse. Okay. So some say in such case, if we are talking about metaverse, there will be a connection between your life in the physical world and in the digital world. Okay, I tend to avoid the term virtual world because, but still, we usually use it interchangeably. All right, but a lot of time when we think about virtual, we think it's not real. all right? This is virtual, so it's not real. But in fact, money in the digital world can be real, all right? Our money, we put it in the bank, although it's just numbers, digital numbers, but it's real, right? So I tend to avoid the term virtual world. I'll call it digital world. So in such case, it's a bit like there's a connection between the physical world and the digital world, all right? So the money you earn in the digital world, you can actually come out to physical world and spend it, all right? But that only happens because you have crypto, you have cryptocurrency. The cryptocurrency only come about maybe about a bit over 10 years, yeah? Bitcoin was here in 2008 or something like that, all right? Which is not even 20 years, all right? And also, other than Bitcoin, you have ETH and things like that, right? Obviously, we are having a crash in the cryptocurrency, all right? So some people say crypto it's dead, all right? But I don't think so. I think crypto is going to stay. One of the reasons is that, if you're going to have a metaverse and you're going to, earn money in the metaverse and you're going to take it out to the physical world and spend it, there must be some kind of connection, all right, between those worlds. And cryptocurrency is playing that role. Be it the Bitcoin or be it the ETH or whatever, there are lots of different names for that, right? So I think that's constitute part of the metaverse, all right? And also you heard about the NFT, right? NFT, non-fungible token, which is basically a way to say that this is your digital asset, okay? So what does that mean? Now, before, without the technology of blockchain, people can cut and paste, all right? So you have a nice picture, I can copy that very easily. There's no ownership because you can't own anything. Anything can be copy and paste, right? Until you have the blockchain technology. While you have the blockchain technology, all these individuals transactions are connected together in blocks, and they have the timeline. All right, so they are not individual transactions. They are put into a timeline, and you have the time chop. All right, so for example, you draw a picture, all right, or you buy something on the internet. What do? You mint an NFT. So the NFT is basically telling people this is yours. Okay, you created this art or something like that. All right, because we have this technology nowadays, people are able to put down what they have. It's blockchain is a bit like a ledger which you cannot change. It's an immutable ledger. You can't change anything. All right, there. So in such case, you can have a book which put down what you have. All right. So that's a big technological breakthrough, I think. All right. And then that is also a part of the metaverse because you can own asset in the metaverse. Now, before you can't really do that because suppose you have a metaverse. Somebody mentioned Second Life or something like that. All right. Now, what about this company is sort of go bankrupt, or if this company doesn't want to run this game anymore? What do? They just cut it out. All right. So you won't buy something if this place is not sustainable, right? Because you will lose all your money. All right. You will only buy digital asset because it's going to last. All right. Because this asset is going to stay. Okay. So that's the concept of the metaverse. It's going to be sustainable. That's one of the basic kind of requirement of the metaverse. Now, you'll find that we seem to be adding a lot of different technologies into the metaverse, right? So it won't be game alone. It won't be blockchain alone. It won't be NFT alone. It won't be GameFi. GameFi is play to earn, right? It won't be DeFi, this decentralized financing. It won't be that. It won't be only that. It will be everything. All right. So we add all these technologies together. Not to mention one more thing, which is very important. I almost forgot, which is virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, extended reality. Wow, so many names. So that's how you can actually see the metaverse through different kind of medium. For example, you can use VR, where you put on a goggle. But obviously nowadays, a lot of people argue that putting up a goggle is very tiring. You can't really put up the goggle for a whole day. It's so tiring. All right. So some people said, well, we don't need this goggle. What we can have, we can have a handset, we can have a mobile, and then we can get into the metaverse. Okay. So it's just another tool which you can get into the metaverse. All right. And some people say, well, the ultimate tool that you can actually enjoy the metaverse is that you need to have a immersive experience. So that also is a qualification for being a metaverse. Okay, so you shouldn't be able to tell the difference between the physical world and the digital world. That's a big requirement, right? It's not easy. Even if you put on VR for a long time, you feel dizzy or something like that. So it's not so immersive in a way. All right. So I would say that we can't really clearly define what a metaverse is, but we can say it's a process of metaversification. Okay, so it's a process of getting into the metaverse. Okay, so we are in the process of getting into the ultimate metaverse, where you have the immersive experience, where you have the NFT digital asset, where you have the VR, AR, whatever, and you can also have something like Tesla, not Tesla. I mean Elon Musk. Now Elon Musk also has a company called Neuralink. Now Neuralink is a kind of human machine interface where you can actually plug in, like a plug. You can have the experience once you are plugged into the cloud. Okay, so it's an interface between human and also the machine. So when you think about that, that is exactly what Matrix is about. Now, everybody watch Matrix, right? So Matrix it's the same thing. So what is the ultimate kind of metaverse? We don't know. We don't know. But I think we more or less have some agreement. Metaverse is the next phase of the internet. Okay. So if we want to talk about Web 1.0, where we just have somebody we have all these internet connected together, a website. Okay, so everybody just send things to each other. That's Web 1.0, right? 2.0 is that people have platforms, people create content. So you have like Facebook. They are a big platform, but they don't create their content. All right, something like that. So that's basically platform economy, which is a Web 2.0. But 3.0 would be different. 3.0 will be decentralized, they call it. Now, that's why some people say Meta will change the name. The Facebook will change the name to Meta. It's not really a metaverse, all right, because it's not decentralized. All right. The argument goes like this. If Meta decided to close down a certain metaverse, they just close it down. All right. So nobody will buy some digital asset there because it's not sustainable. All right. They have the control. You don't have the control as an owner. All right. Where you do something like Web 3.0, the whole thing is decentralized. They call it DAO, decentralized autonomous organization. So you are a owner of a piece of land, for example, in a sandbox. You have a say, you have a vote or something like that, So everybody, all the owners who have the same interest can decide what this place is going to be like in future. All right. So that's like sandbox, decentralized land. They all have this kind of Web 3.0 concept. Okay. Adding everything together, that would be the full version of the metaverse. All right. So that's what I think will happen. Now, they said, is a big place. Even gaming. In the gaming industry, it has been growing like hell. It has been doubling all the time. All right. People are spending more and more time in gaming, especially the young people. All right. So, the young generation, like my kids, they all go into the internet. They are all indigenous people in the metaverse. Okay. At least in the gaming area. All right. But it's much more than that. But I personally think one of the reasons why metaverse is so big is because it is a paradigm shift. Okay. Now, what do I mean by a paradigm shift? Okay. Think about what we are doing. What we have been doing in the past. in the physical world. All right, we have had a lot of institutions like banks, like government, like schools, and we have a lot of professionals like lawyers, like accountants, all right, and all kinds of third party. They do a lot of authentication and things like that. Very big. A lot of people doing that. Think about what we do when we need to buy a house or something like that. It would take ages. It would take ages. Yeah, it takes a long time because there are so many documents to be checked up. There's so many third party, and most of them are done manually. Okay. Now think about what we are doing now in the metaverse through blockchain. So blockchain is very important because it cuts out all the middlemen. Okay. Because we have an immutable ledger, we can't change things there. Once we have put down information data there, it's there to stay. You can't change it. All right. If we can't change that, everything can be seen through the blockchain platform. So we no longer need all kinds of third-party authenticator. Okay. So that's a big change, and this is happening. This is happening, right? So think about a bank. Okay, a very traditional bank. Think about how many people there. Think about how many forms they need to fill in. Think of how complicated the process of banking is. Okay, whereas you have DeFi, decentralized finance. Okay, with decentralized finance, what do? Everything is put on the blockchain through Ethereum chain. Okay, for example, Ethereum chain. There are others like Solana, etc., right? Let's talk about, stay with the Ethereum chain, okay? And with the Ethereum chain, people can actually write something called a smart contract on that. And with smart contract, everything is recorded in the blockchain, all right? So things are much simpler, all right? You don't need a lot of third-party authentication. So the efficiency, the time costs, everything, is so much faster using smart contract. And what is smart contract based on? It is based on algorithm. Okay, so we know AI is based on algorithm. We know blockchain is based on algorithm. We know a lot of these things are based on algorithm, and all these technology, they are advancing together. Okay, so we are facing a situation where all these technology are converging. Okay, so Kathy Woods, you probably heard about it, ARK Investment, the founder of that, she said, when all this technology comes together and converge, the efficiency is going to be so big that all the traditional kind of method will just fade off. This is innovation. So this kind of innovation must happen because everyone is chasing behind better efficiency and better effectiveness. All right. So what is going to happen? All this technology, algorithm, AI, blockchain, cloud computing, DeFi, VR, AR, all that kind of thing, they all come together in the metaverse. So metaverse is a combination of the whole thing. Not only you're able to play there, not only you're going to meet people there, not only you're going to socialize there, not only you are going to entertain there, you live there. Okay, so that's the point. So what can this metaverse do? I just put down several things, right? First, a virtual meeting place. All right, especially we have COVID. A lot of people are used to work at home. A lot of people are used to, Zooming people nowadays. I have been discussing a business deal with somebody in Europe, and then it's very simple, And he asked me, why don't we, why don't I fly over from New York to Hong Kong? I said, you can't, because Hong Kong, you need to lock down, you need to, quarantine and all that kind of thing. Why don't we just, get used to working on Zoom? Okay, now we're working on Zoom, right? And it's so much easier, all right? It could save time, as long as we are in the same time zone and we can work together. So in the metaverse, people can actually have a 3D version rather than a 2D. Zoom is 2D, right? But we will have a kind of 3D version in the metaverse. So you would just enjoy yourself like having. I just went to a virtual concert 2 days ago, and it was very enjoyable. Obviously, there are other things that that can be improved at this stage, right? But the key thing is that young people loves it. All right. I'm not an indigenous immigrant to the metaverse. Well, I'm not, indigenous people there, but I'm an immigrant. All right. So I can see that young people, they love that kind of, moving around, jumping around. And the thing is that they don't like to show their face. They like to show their the avatar. Okay. So, that's the trend. They love it. So we believe that in future, the younger generation will love to be in virtual concert and things like that. They love to be in the digital world. And also you can put down big companies like BMW and things like that. You can apply construction. You can apply all these manufacturing. You create a double in the metaverse. So whatever happens in the metaverse, it doesn't matter if it blows up or whatever, it collapses, it doesn't hurt, all right? It is much cheaper to have a digital version there, all right? And then, so you have a physical and digital double. So anything went wrong, goes wrong in the physical world, you can have, you can check up on the virtual world or in the digital world. So you can do a lot there, and then they are connected, all right? So you can have a double, which can help the efficiency, and then you can do a lot more testing and things like that. You can run a lot of AI modeling or AI prototyping, all that happen in the metaverse. So there's obviously an advantage in the metaverse. And then AI, all right? AI doesn't exist in the physical world, it exists in the digital world, right? So you can have algorithm, and then, this very recently, an engineer from Google said that they have already passed the Turing test. The Turing test, which means that we can't really, as human, just by interacting with the AI, we can't tell whether this AI is real or not, or whether this is a real person or AI. The AI technology has already gone past the Turing test. All right, so we'll be seeing GPT-4 or something like that. The new kind of AI, which you just can't tell the difference between the AI and the human. And this will be in the metaverse as well. And then we can have second life. When somebody mentioned that, yeah. And then perhaps, I'm getting old and one day I might die. All right. Even if I die, what happened? Maybe my kids say, I want you to stay. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we collect all the data. All right. And we create a person called Michael Kwong in the second life metaverse. All right. So sooner or later, everybody put up their ancestor, and you have a whole group of people, family, the whole family. Some of them are, they are gone, but you can still meet together in the metaverse, and they behave just like the real person, because it's through AI. They collect all this information, and then they imitate the person, and they create a second life there. All right. So all that sort of things can happen. You can have your legacy or your second self there. All right. And also we have distributed information. So you have a different kind of financial system or a currency system or whatever. Okay. All that, digital asset. So the young people said, well, I can't really, earn much in the physical world, but I can do a lot more in the digital world. I can start having buying some NFTs or cryptocurrency, or I create my own kind of art, whatever. All these can be done in the metaverse. Okay, so basically, I think it's 20 minutes already. Okay, so I will invite some discussion, questions. Whether we can have some interaction. Oh, just a very quick recap. Several things. First of all, there's no clear definition of the metaverse. I believe there's a process of going into it, the metaverse at the moment. Okay, so it doesn't have a fixed shape. So we can be talking about different things when we refer to the metaverse. That's the first thing. The second thing is that metaverse is not only about VR. A lot of books that say, metaverse is about VR, AR. No, not at all. Okay, metaverse is the Web 3.0 or the next generation of the internet, which incorporate lots of different kind of technology in there. All right, and there's still some time for it to mature, maybe about 10 years. Okay, but nobody knows. Nowadays technology is getting very fast. It can happen. Maybe we expect it to happen in 10 years, but it might come in 5 years' time. All right. The third thing I want to talk about is what I have been talking about is that with this metaverse, we can do a lot of activities, and the synergy, the convergence of different technology in terms of efficiency and effectiveness is very, very big, which means that you can't resist the emergence of the metaverse. It will be there for certain. Okay, the difference is that how long will it take? What other functions will be spin out? For me, I think it's like, you're going into a dream. All right, you can't really tell whether you are a dream or in reality when you are dreaming. All right, that's the kind of immersive experience that we are looking for. Okay, but at the same time, think about what happened if you can't distinguish the real world from the digital world, which will be very much like the Matrix. All right, so that's a bit of sharing that I wanted to share with you, and then perhaps we can throw out some question and then we can have some exchange. So Leanne, do you want to facilitate this part?
Happy to do that. Yes, thank you for sharing and for giving us a glimpse of like all the possibilities that make up the metaverse. And even though the definition of metaverse may be simple, I think you gave us a few like core requirements of what would make it a metaverse versus just a virtual world or just a virtual experience. Items like a connection. Somehow there's a connection between the world that you're calling the metaverse and the physical world, and something is sustainable about it, and there's an immersive experience. So thanks for elaborating on that. Yeah, the floor is open for questions now. If anyone would like to start, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, yeah, Michael, thanks very much for your detailed description and the presentation. I don't know, it's a question. I mean, just points and questions. I think there's a lot. The metaverse is a huge thing, so there's really a lot to unpick. I mean, I was also reading about it recently in terms of this development. I think there seems to be a confusion. All that said, it's confusion, but I know there's two names for this new version of the web. Some people say it's Web 3.0, some people say it's called just Web 3. And at the moment, I don't know if you know the difference. I was just doing a bit of, I saw, for example, on Wikipedia, there is a description for Web 3, a page, but there isn't a page for Web 3.0. So I know some people thought we had 1.0, 2.0, it must be 3.0. But there seems to be some kind of do you know anything about that? What, if there's a difference, what the difference is between Web 3 and Web 3.0?
Some people said Web 3 is the next version of the internet.
Yeah. Okay,
so they see things from the evolution of the internet. Okay, but when they said Web 3.0, most of them refer to decentralized. They think that decentralization is a necessary prerequisite for Web 3.0, but maybe not Web 3, because Web 3 is just an extension of the next version of the internet, which might be like a Meta. Meta may claim that they're we're doing Web 3, but some people might say, but they are not Web 3.0. But it's a kind of terms, people throw around these new terms. So I don't know. I'm not an expert in this kind of terminologies. I don't know.
And something that I think could also be added to, in your presentation about use cases, I think education. I mean, you mentioned right at the beginning about schools.
Yes.
And, the education, with the way we teach children and youngsters hasn't changed in years. The classroom still looks the same. And something like this, I think, could really disrupt that, and I think especially younger kids get used to technology much quicker than we do, older people. And therefore, I think the idea of being able to have virtual classrooms and people virtually coming to meet each other, and these could be then international people from all over the world. So I think education could be a big growth element of the metaverse.
Yes, I totally agree with you. We haven't changed our way of education, but the children has changed completely. Yeah. That's the problem. So I mean, I can't really imagine, through our experience, because we are not indigenous people in the metaverse. So I think it will come along when the young people grow up and they decide how they want to learn. They might not want classroom. I can't imagine people loving to learn in classrooms. All right. I think it's very likely to have gamification in terms of education. So, some of the projects that we're doing, we are turning education into playing games. All right. So they will have ventures. All right. They have ventures, they have a reward. And then suddenly we put out some knowledge to them. For example, right. If they want to learn history, they can get into the battlefield. All right. They can get into that era. All right. So everybody is there enjoying playing around, and then they get to know the names of these people because it's a game. All right. They can pick up very easily. You don't have to sit down, teach them so that they learn in a painful way, try to memorize everything. All that crap. I mean, that would be gone within one generation. I'm certain about that.
If I can jump in for a sec, if Matt, if you're with us, I'm curious about your perspective too. I'm a little bit familiar with Matt's business, and I know that they work on tools that are like Zoom and better than Zoom, and transforming the experience of training and education. So I'm wondering what your perspective is there.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that in the online space, something that's really important for people is a sense of metaphor in what they're doing. And I think that this is why in the metaverse context, people do react really positively to having an avatar in a space doing activities, as opposed to the kind of environment that we're in right now, just by contrast, being like a grid of video screens where there is no sense of metaphor that brings people around what they're doing. If, for example, we saw Michael at a podium and ourselves sitting at tables, we might have a different emotional sense as to the kind of space that we're in, and then that would bring about like different reactions as we are continuing the conversation. So I think that that's a really important part of designing for the metaverse.
Yes, great.
Thank you. Thanks for chiming in. I put you on the spot.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I just would say one other thing, Michael. I know you mentioned VR, and I mean, I've kind of, maybe slightly different opinion there. I mean, I think the VR part of it will be somehow important for how people access the metaverse. I mean, they're kind of separate but connected. And let's just say, I mean, VR is just kind of a mechanism in which you access, because at the moment you can go on a flat screen on your laptop or your computer, and you can still access it and see your avatars, I suppose. But it's not going to be the same experience as if you're at the moment wearing something like a VR headset and you feel like you're in there. And I think that technology has got to advance to a degree where it's acceptable and accessible by many people, whether that's financially, whether that's, some people get sick. Like I read something like 40%, 50% of the population can get sick just by wearing it. Well, that's a lot of the people who won't maybe use the metaverse so much. So there needs to be some other kind of technological advancement to get to a point where we can just connect, and whether that's what Elon Musk is working on, is just click into the brain. I don't know, but I think once you're in there, that's one thing, is being having a feeling of being kind of close to other people in a visual sense, and having some other of your senses kind of, you're getting other sensory input, whether that's audio, because when you're in a room with someone, you have all that you're feeling, it's tactile, it's visual, there's, smelling and so on. And that's something that we miss, in a Zoom call, for example. Also, as you said, the 2D versus 3D. And the other part of it is, we're still going into this digital or virtual digital world where at the moment we're looking at real people. And when you're in a virtual or digital world, you're seeing digital avatars, which are representations of that person, which, are a digital, they look digital, they don't look like a real person. And maybe if that's going to change and they become much more realistic, that could be something that would have an effect on how much we as people, accept it.
Hey, I'm running out of time, guys, so I might step out a bit, but I do have an answer earlier for the difference between the web that we know today, where Facebook sits, versus Web3. And I'm going to use some of my answers based on what I learned from my specialization in Wharton. So for Web3, as we know right now, Web3 uses the blockchain technology. And one of the good things about blockchain is it keeps your information private, with the idea that you have a private key and a public key. Public key is like your wallet address. Your private key is your digital signature, so you could transact using the wallet. So those are two main components. So how is Web3 more private in a sense? So because of there's a function in computer science called a hash function, where it basically it's cryptography, where it really masks your whatever size your input is. It has always a specific number of output, which is how many bits they are using on the function. But yeah, in general, it gives the users more control of their data. For an instance, if there's a drug trial, and a lot of companies would love to pay for drug trials, they need actual data and legitimate data. The only way they could do a sample size of 10,000, they have to ask 10,000 people for their permission to use the data. But if they're using, let's say, if their data is on a blockchain medical system, what they can just do now, and this is something quite new and probably impressive, would be the patient, or if I want to share my data for that study, they don't need to administer drugs on me or anything. I just share my data. They could also incentivize to pay me. If I share my data, they pay me something. It could be a token, it could be whatever in the smart contract or on the blockchain. But still, I keep my anonymous state. They don't know really my first name, last name, but they are certain that my data that I'm sharing is legitimate, because everything is now done in a trustless manner. It's just the computer that does all the inputs and outputs. So no need for a third party or a mediator to do it. It's all done on the blockchain. So that's what makes Web3 a bit more unique. You have more data privacy in there. You have more control of your data, and there's no one company that controls the whole system because it's on a blockchain. So I hope that helps, or maybe it created more questions. I hope it gave you more answers than questions. So
DJ, you were talking about the importance of hashing to cryptography as a fundamental of the blockchain, right? And I always feel that there's a threat with AI and also quantum computing. I mean, nobody knows if somebody might not be very constructive, right? They can be very destructive. Right? They want to hack or whatever. If that sort of thing happens, because we know that with blockchain, cryptography is a key component of it. But if that is broken down with quantum computing and AI or something like that, the whole system is threatened. The whole blockchain system, that would be I don't know. I don't know what would happen, but that's always a threat there.
Yeah, but there's always a balance, because if you're gonna use quantum computing to, let's say, figure out the code or the cryptography, what stops the good guys from also using quantum computing to create far more complicated computations to break into a cryptography? So a lot of people, it's easy to break things, it's harder to build things, and I'm more on the building side. So I could also ask the same question. What stops the good guys from using quantum computing so that the bad guys using quantum computing to keep on figuring it out? It's easier to build things, or actually it's harder to build things, but when it comes to this game, it's easier to build more things just to make it complicated than figure out the puzzle. So there's always two sides of the coin that a lot of people don't usually discuss. And unfortunately, I'm so sorry, guys, I have to ditch right now. But I really enjoyed your talk, MK. I love it.
Thank you, DJ.
There's not a lot of these kinds of talks. I hope there's more. And I hope my fintech specialization can help you guys in the future. Just hit me up if you need anything. And yeah, let me know.
Oh, by the way, TJ, before you go, and just for you all, there's a international 24-hour Meta Festival next week, which I'm going to join because it's from a Berlin company. I think a Berlin and a Dutch company are doing it, but it's 24 hours across 3 different time zones.
That's
and
insane.
it's like 100 speakers. So,
Wow.
I'm just going to put it's actually called Meta Festival. I've just put the link in the chat. So check it out. I'm going to contact them. I was going to see if there's a way of arranging like a GBO little room within the metaverse that we could kind of virtually meet, because that should be possible in principle, right?
Yeah, it should be. I think there's a lot of really good stuff to talk about the fintech space, blockchain as a technology separately, because fintech doesn't necessarily mean blockchain related, right? And metaverse doesn't also necessarily mean blockchain related. But what a lot of people are building right now, those NFTs, they're usually built on the blockchain and on Web3. So I think that's the future direction. If the behavior and philosophy of people values data privacy, that's where the direction would be. Like I like how Apple did it. Like they didn't tell you, okay, we have new features of the iPhone. No, they don't tell you that. They tell you the benefits right away. This is an iPhone. You have your privacy. You have your data privacy in here. So yeah, it's kind of like a shade to the competitors, but that's what they basically did, and they were successful. But yeah, sure. I mean, if we could organize another GBO event just to discuss about the blockchain or share what we know about it, that would be something interesting, or an ask me anything. I think that would be interesting as well. Yeah. People are
Sure,
moving.
yeah, Gary, set up that room if you can and let us know.
I'll let you. I wanted to reach out to them and see because they've got a website, but they've been a bit. There isn't so much information, but the tickets are free. On that, there you click through, you can just get your ticket, and then at the moment, I think you can actually access it on your desktop in some kind of metaverse kind of way, or it says you can also watch it on YouTube or Twitch. So, which I guess will be just a flat experience, I suppose, but you'll still be able to see the speakers. But I am thinking of renting a VR headset just for that day, just to see if I can actually experience it, really virtually.
Yeah, take advantage of all the features of the experience that they're providing to you. And that's your cost of admission of renting your VR set.
Yeah, exactly. I'll let you know. I'll post something in one of the WhatsApp groups if I find out it's possible to have an area and how that is, or if there's a virtual room where we can say we meet at this virtual room, which is, I'll be in there to a certain time zone.
That would be great.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. David, you've been off mute this whole time.
Yes, but everybody's been talking very well. So yeah, but yeah, I agree with everything that we heard, because like Michael said, there's no definition to Web3 or to the metaverse. It can mean anything. And, the blockchain is just one little piece of it. And the NFTs is just a Ponzi scheme, in my opinion, because they're not there for any use. And even if somebody says that's a proof of ownership of anything, well, you don't need an NFT to have proof of ownership. You just need to have your blockchain code showing that you have a wallet or whatever, and something's connected to it. And NFTs disappear also because they have to be hosted someplace, and they're not hosted on the blockchain. Only the information is on the blockchain. And there have already been cases where the NFTs have disappeared, and people have sometimes been able to get them back, and or find another copy of it someplace. But so it has no meaning, these things. So a blockchain is basically just a ledger and nothing else. So any ledger can be used now. centralized or decentralized. Everything has its advantages and disadvantages, especially right now, because depending on where you live, Hong Kong, for example, doesn't have internet problems. Here in the Philippines, you have areas where there's no internet at all. So you can't really do anything online. So it has no meaning. And as far as, you know, things with the VR, the headsets are still not there. I mean, I've tried a few that were made for, especially for education, with educational programs. And after a few minutes, you felt dizzy, the thing's heavy. How long can somebody sit with this on their head, depending on, you know, so it's gonna take a while till these adapt. But also, I feel kids, especially in education, still need to meet and do things together. And, you know, we could say Web3 is already not good for kids on the way that parents very often are giving a phone to kids as a babysitter. Even though sometimes they may watch some educational YouTube things, especially on the kids that are very young, because they can learn the ABC or numbers or something. But once they get older, complete waste of time. So yeah, those are the things I can add.
Thank you, David. So I mean, the world is changing so fast. That the kids are so different from us. As parents, we don't know what to do. Whether we should encourage them to play more games, because in future it may be play to earn. So it might be a way of making a living. We don't know. So I can't really stop them. You know, by stopping them, I might be taking away the chance of surviving in future. I don't know. You know, there are so many things happening, like AI. AI is advancing so fast. So do we really need people who create knowledge or who write softwares or things like that? I don't know. So all these are question mark.
Or will the AI write the software itself?
Yeah, they can do that very well, much better than human being.
And then it becomes like a science fiction movie where the robots are parents. And they decide what's better for the humans. Maybe that will happen one day, maybe it won't, who knows?
Yeah, the questions and the flags coming up in my mind were, you know, about like, what are the limits? Like in the physical world, we have limits to how big an economy can be and how big a population can be. We have natural limiting factors, for better or worse. And what would be limiting factors in the metaverse?
Well, that depends on what in the metaverse, because there's just too many things. So it has no meaning. Again, the question, unless you limit it to a specific sector, like maybe AI, then you could start looking at Asimov's iRobot, you know, the laws of robotics, and see if that would work.
I mean,
That
I
is a
think,
really cool book. Yeah.
I mean, I think like anything else is going to be, you know, if there is going to be, if it grows so big, a bit like, is there going to be some kind of central governing body? But if we're talking about a decentralized universe, that kind of, you know, takes the argument away. So then you've got, if you've got sub metaverses, then it's whoever the controller or the owners of that metaverse, what restrictions they put on. Because in the end, in terms of what you can do in the metaverse is, you know, everything, you know, there's no limit really, you know, except by technology and your own imagination. And as the technology grows, it's your own imagination. That can be both good and bad. And then, you know, can you go and rob someone, you know, in the metaverse? Probably. I don't know. You know, it's like there's all these things that can happen. I think that make it interesting, but you know, also complicated.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, what are the rules and what ethical guidelines, frameworks get transferred between physical world and metaverse? And yeah, it's like,
And
they're very human
Yeah.
guidelines.
and the
despite going into a place where like it's a very different experience of being human.
And the other thing is to consider about as all this attention, money, finance goes into creating this great metaverse, what happens to our real world? You know, I mean, are we going to then, you know, be like not focusing on our real world? Is that going to deteriorate? I mean, this was, I don't know if any of you've seen the film Ready Player One. I don't know if you know the film Ready. It's a very good reference. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. It's set in the future. A guy puts on this headset and suit and he's in this kind of metaverse style world that's 500 times better in this like horrible, crappy place he lives in on this like, and the planet is, you know, a lot destroyed except for the super rich. And it's, you know, it's a little bit kind of dystopian, but it kind of reflects, you know, okay, do we put all this money, attention, resources into building this metaverse? Do we forget about our real planet, you know? And then does the metaverse become an escape? You know, we go there to escape from this real world because it's horrible out there. And it's too hot and it's 40 degrees and, you know, the planet's burning, etc., etc.
All those things are exactly what's online already. People escape into Facebook or other online forums or websites, and the same dangers that you have with anything online will just transfer it to the metaverse. People will try to use that to take advantage of other people.
So then what limits that? Because what I'm thinking right now is like, okay, if people are always in the metaverse, they're not meeting each other, like the actual population of humans is not going to continue.
Maybe we'll have some meta babies, who knows?
Doesn't that exist already? These things that are online that you have to take care of? Or even
To some degree, yeah, virtual babies, yeah, that's, I mean.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. It's 1:15. This has been fun, and you know where to find each other. Yeah. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this. I am going to send around a survey to hear feedback, because that's always helpful to see how we can, you know, keep these events going and interesting and enjoyable for everyone. And like I said, there's a virtual introduction next Wednesday. And if you know people who might be interested, encourage them to join that. And then we're having the Metaverse, Where Are We Actually Going? Another virtual event on July 15th.
Great, thanks, Leanne. Thanks for organizing. Yeah, thanks very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Leanne. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, David.